This story is a sensational one, and one which belongs in a Netflix series.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to look at the case of the $24 million heist at Pearson International Airport about a year ago. How the police solved that heist and what the criminals are facing as far as punishment. And it will amaze you. Stick around to the end and find out. Peel Regional Police announced that 9 people were charged today with 19 counts in relation to the $24 million heist at Pearson International Airport last year. 1 is in custody in the United States. The rest have been charged in Canada. We'll tell you what's happening to them in this video. Now, let's go to the press conference and find out just how this heist took place.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here today. My name is Detective Sergeant Mike Mavity, and I'm the Major Case Manager for Project 24 Carat. While the investigation of those responsible for this theft is nearing completion, other aspects are still ongoing. As a result, we may not be able to answer some of your questions about certain aspects of this investigation, as the matter is before the courts. Our investigation involves a stolen quantity of gold and foreign currency that were ordered from a refinery in Zurich, Switzerland. The gold and currency were transported in the hull of an Air Canada flight in an approved airline container destined for Toronto. This flight arrived at Toronto's Pearson International Airport on April 17, 2023 at 3:56 p.m. Shortly after, the gold and currency were offloaded from the aircraft and brought into Air Canada cargo facility. At 6:32 p.m., the suspect arrived at Air Canada Cargo driving a 5-ton truck. The suspect reversed his vehicle to the loading dock and exited the truck. The suspect was carrying a fraudulent airway bill as he approached the warehouse. The image you see is the actual airway bill that the suspect produced. The airway bill is for a legitimate shipment of seafood that was picked up the day before. This duplicate airway bill was printed off from a printer within Air Canada Cargo. Once inside the warehouse, the suspect provided it to Air Canada Cargo warehouse attendant. A short time later, a forklift arrived with a container of gold and foreign currency and loaded it into the rear of the suspect's truck. The suspect then drives away. At approximately 9:30 p.m. that same evening, Brinks Canada employees attended Air Canada Cargo to pick up the shipment of gold and currency. Air Canada employees tried to locate the container, realized it was missing, and began an internal investigation. At 2:43 a.m. on April 18, 2023, Peel Regional Police were contacted and advised the load of stolen gold and currency, the load of gold and currency had been stolen. In total, 6,600 gold bars ranging in size and weighing a total of 400.19 kilograms were stolen. Each gold bar is 99.9% pure and contained individualized serial numbers. The gold was valued at approximately $20 million Canadian based on current market value. The stolen banknotes are in foreign currency in various denominations, amounting to a value of roughly 2.5 million Canadian dollars. Investigators from Project 24 Carat conducted a video canvass going door to door and business to business, reviewing video evidence from surveillance cameras beginning at Air Canada Cargo. Working with community business owners in Peel and Halton region, investigators reviewed their video surveillance and believe the truck took the following route after leaving Air Canada Cargo. Westbound on Britannia Road East. Southbound on Dixie Road. Westbound on Highway 401. We continued to follow the truck and checked each exit that Highway 401 intersects with. Erin Mills Parkway, Winston Churchill, Trafalgar Road. The truck does not exit at any of these roadways. This continues into Halton region as the truck passes James Snow Parkway, and we observe the truck exit at Bronte Road and go northbound on Bronte Road. We continue to follow the truck northbound on Bronte Road. Eventually, as the truck travels north of Milton, it becomes more rural, and we lose sight of the truck. This video canvass lasted 4 weeks, with investigators checking over 225 separate businesses and residences in Peel and surrounding areas for video surveillance, and then reviewing the surveillance to see if the truck happened to pass. Over the last year, Project 24 Carat investigators have executed approximately 37 search warrants, 70 production orders, and interviewed over 50 individuals. During search warrants, investigators seized the following items: $430,000 in Canadian currency. We believe this money is some of the profits the suspects made when they sold the gold. 6 cruelly made gold bracelets that resemble bangles, however they lack various principles typically associated with fine jewelry. These items were sent off for expert examination and are considered to be pure gold. The total value of these 6 gold bracelets is over $89,000. Smelting pots, casts, and molds. These are commonly used in the industry to change the composition of gold. We believe the items you see here today were used to change the composition of the stolen gold bars to different forms, like the bracelets you just saw. 2 debt lists, one for $9.943 million and the other for $10.023 million. A common term in drug trafficking investigations, we believe these lists actually show where the money was distributed when the gold was sold by the suspects. These lists were found at 2 separate locations, and you'll notice we've blurred out the names. However, they are consistent on each list. We are working hard to identify each of these individuals. Some other items on the list, they have allocated money for trips, supplies, and personal items. The suspect used a 5-ton truck to steal the gold and currency from Air Canada Cargo. As the chief mentioned, that truck is behind me today. Investigators have identified and charged or issued warrants for 9 individuals with over 19 charges. Parmpal Sidhu, a 54-year-old man from Brampton and an Air Canada employee. Amit Jalota, a 40-year-old man from Oakville. Ahmad Chaudhry, a 43-year-old man from Georgetown. Ali Raza, a 37-year-old man from Toronto who also happens to be a jewelry store owner. Prasath Parmalingam, a 35-year-old man from Brampton. These individuals have been released on conditions and will appear at the Ontario Court of Justice in Brampton at a later date. Canada-wide warrants have been issued for the following individuals: Simranpreet Panazar, a 31-year-old man from Brampton and a former Air Canada employee who was employed at the time of the theft. Archit Grover, a 36-year-old man from Brampton. Arsalan Chaudhry, a 42-year-old man from Mississauga. Investigators urge these individuals to seek legal counsel and turn themselves into police. And finally, the driver. A warrant in the first has been issued for Durante King McLean for theft over $5,000 and possession of property obtained by crime. I spoke about the fraudulent airway bill when we were alleging the driver produced. Through forensic examination and through other police techniques, we identified King McLean as the driver early on in the investigation. For the months that followed in the summer, we tried to locate King McLean or his associates. That brought us to September. In September 2023, Durante King McLean was stopped in a rental vehicle by Pennsylvania State Police near Chalmersburg, Pennsylvania. After a brief foot chase, he was detained, and troopers located 65 illegal firearms within the vehicle. Since his arrest, Project 24 Carat investigators have been liaising with our friends with the ATF. We are alleging that some individuals who participated in this gold theft are also involved in aspects of this firearms trafficking. For further comment on this aspect of this investigation, I will now turn it over to ATF Special Agent Eric Degree.
Good morning. I'm Eric Degree. I have the privilege of being the Special Agent in charge of ATF's Philadelphia Field Division. This case started last September with a late-night traffic stop by the Pennsylvania State Police after a Keene trooper noted some minor motor vehicle violations. The driver, Durante King McLean from Ontario, was illegally in the United States and fled on foot when troopers discovered the firearms in his rental car. A court-authorized search warrant for the vehicle led to the recovery of those firearms that were allegedly destined to be smuggled into Canada. One of those firearms had an obliterated serial number, 11 of them were stolen, and 2 of them were converted to fully automatic machine guns under United States federal law. Our partners at the Pennsylvania State Police brought in our ATF Harrisburg office to assist with the investigation into this apparent firearms trafficking operation. King McLean was also listed in law enforcement databases, which alerted us to contact the Peel Regional Police, and thus our cooperation started. Due to the scope of this investigation, the Department of Justice's Office of Crime Drug Enforcement Task Force, otherwise known as OCDETF, also assisted with this investigation. OCDETF is a multi-agency, intelligence-driven anti-crime task force that targets transnational criminal organizations. It also tackles violence due to firearms, human smuggling, racketeering, corruption, fraud, money laundering, and for the first time, in this case, international firearms trafficking. Our teams work closely together, including multiple visits to both Canada and to the United States, to share findings, conduct interviews, and enable us to uncover this criminal network. As a result of our investigation, a United States federal grand jury issued an indictment charging McLean with firearms violations for the 65 weapons that he was caught with. Together with Prazeth Pamerlingan, King McLean was charged with conspiring to illegally traffic these firearms into Canada. Furthermore, Jalissa Edwards and Arshit Grover were also charged for assisting the operation by alerting others to prevent apprehensions and concealing evidence. I'm proud to say that we successfully put this international gun trafficking operation out of business. In this case, keeping 65 firearms off the streets of Canada and preventing them from being used in any number of violent crimes.
Good morning. I am Deputy Chief Nick Milinovich, and I am in charge of our Investigative and Emergency Services Command. What I'd like to communicate to you today is really very simple, and there's 2 parts to that message. This was the largest gold heist in Canadian history. Reportedly, it's the 6th largest in world crime history.
The complexity of what we deal with, and quite often things like this might just seem like one entity became a victim of the loss of $20 million. For us, it doesn't mean that. Day in and day out, all of our officers are dealing with gun crimes, violent crimes. And so the ability to work things backwards is a very critical element to these investigations. And we can't stress it anymore, even though it does sound very sensational, that those 65 firearms, definitely not in the hands of somebody, saved lives, without a doubt. So it's not just the theft of cargo. This is a dotted line to people's well-being anywhere in this country, wherever those firearms ended up.
We believe that they've melted down the gold, and then the profits they got from the gold they used to help finance the firearm, obviously purchasing the illegal firearms and that, and provide transportation, accommodation and that to get them up here. So we believe that's how the gold money has now kind of worked into the firearms trafficking aspect of the investigation.
Really quickly add some additional information. So, interestingly enough, everybody expects that when you have a criminal organized network, they generally focus or specialize in one area. The reality is that doesn't occur anymore. Very similar to private enterprise and legitimate business, they diversify. They look for high reward, low risk. And you've heard that. That's where this group particularly went wrong. They saw an opportunity, theft of gold is committed, and then they used the profits from that to finance other endeavors, to continue to grow the network. And this investigation isn't done. We've recovered a small amount of the total quantity of gold that was taken. We've recovered some of the proceeds, and equally as important, we've also recovered some of the firearms that they purchased as a result of those proceeds in that crime. So the investigation is going to continue, but the reality is organized crime doesn't specialize. other than their specialty is targeting communities and targeting vulnerabilities with an attempt to profit. Thank you.
Okay, just for context, and not to put it on our American colleagues here, but the individual on the U.S. side who's charged is still in custody. So it does frustrate us, without a doubt. But as you know, we're one part of the system. Our goal is to ensure that this case withstands probably a very lengthy court process that's yet to begin, and how individuals are released is a frustration. We have highlighted the fact that there wasn't just a theft, it's a dotted line correlation to public safety being compromised here. And so we really believe that the risk that is involved with the substantive offense is far more greater than what sometimes we see individuals being either withheld in court or for bail or release. Our next thing is, as long as they comply with conditions, those are the things that are still our responsibility to contribute to. But it is a very frustrating thing for our members, no doubt, but it is part of the environment here in Canada.
The individual in custody in the United States could be looking at up to 35 years. The charges for the offenses in Canada, could be up to 5 years.
So there you have it, the sixth largest heist as far as value goes in the world, in world history, and the single largest in Canada. And we have people who are out on bail in Canada who are only facing 5 years in jail. Consider that. Sixth largest heist in world history. They're facing 5 years maximum in jail, and they're out on bail. Whereas the accomplice who is in the States, he's facing 35 years, and he's still in jail. Something is desperately wrong with the Canadian system. That's just my opinion. Let me know your opinion below. I'd love to hear it. Please like this video and subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll see you on the next video.